Hey everybody, welcome to the video. In this tutorial, we're going to talk about how to read data from your project directory into R-Stuido. Let's jump right into it. And so in the last video, what we talked about the list files function, which is able to show us all the different files in our project directory. So let's see what files we have. So we see here that we have our R-Stuido script, and then we have some data that we're going to read in. So let's read in this sample._csv.csv. To do that, we're going to use the read.csv function. So what we're going to do is that we're going to assign the name of the file that we want to read in. We're going to assign that to an object called file, and then we're going to use that file within the function. So we see here that now that the object has that string sample_csv.csv, and then we're going to use that within the read.csv function. So the data was read in, and the data that we're reading in is an Excel. Let's see what that is. It's a CSV. It has 3 columns and 3 rows. This first row is just a header, and so it read that in. But in the meantime, we see that we got a warning here, and it says incomplete final line found by read table header. So while showing you how to read data in from your project directory, I wanted to walk you through the difference between warnings and errors. And so a warning is basically saying that the function can continue what it's supposed to do, but something happened that was unexpected. And an error means that something went wrong and that it can't complete the task. And so in this case, it was just a warning, right? And so what this is saying is that it was expecting the symbol for a next line at the end of the file, but it didn't find that. So let's see why. So this is just something specifically problematic with CSVs, and that's why it's usually better to use XLSX, which are Excel worksheets. However, this warning can be fixed by something very simple, and so I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's go back to the directory where we have the file, and what we're going to do is we're going to open this up with a text reader. So open with other. So let's open it with a text editor. All right. And we see here that that's not. Oh, we want to open the not the XLSX, but the text. All right. So this is the sample CSV that we just wrote in, and you see that if we add an enter here, and then we hit save, we'll close it, and then we'll read it in again. You see that we don't have that warning anymore. And so what I did there was that I just simply added a enter at the last line. Let's go back to the file. I just simply added a enter at the end at the last line. Like I said, at the last line here, you see that there's an enter here, and that resolved the warning because that's what I was expecting. So I just wanted to show you that is how you can resolve this error. It's not a super important warning to be alarmed by, but when I write code, I usually like my console here to be free of warnings, right? It just looks better, it looks more professional. And so that is a way that you can resolve this. Another way that you can do that is you can use the suppress warnings function, where you're just simply wrapping everything that you have. You're wrapping the function that's here, and you're wrapping that in another function that suppresses that warning. So let me show you how that's done. So we'll open up that file again. We'll open it up and we'll remove that. We'll remove the enter. We'll remove it, and then we'll save it. And we can see here that if we read it in again, we'll get that error. But if we wrap it in the suppress warnings function with the exact same thing, read.csv with header equals true, we wrap that, we'll see here that we won't get that warning. One other thing I wanted to talk about here was just this argument here, that header equals true. If this is header equals false, we'll see that we will get an additional row because the header will be would be the column names, right? So in the worksheet we had 4 rows and one of them is a header. So if this is false, then it assigns the first row as a legitimate row. But if it's true, then it converts that to a header. So let's see what happens. Yep. So you see now that first row is the header. All right, moving on. So that's how to read in CSVs. So now what we're going to talk about is how to read in XLSX, which is a Microsoft Excel format. So to do this, we'll look at list files again, and we see here that we have a file called XLSX, sample_XLSX, and so that's the sample data we want to read in. And so we read it in, and we don't get any errors because it's a little more consistent in the formatting. What R was anticipating is what it found, and let's see what was in there. So we can see here that we have 2 columns and 4 rows. Now, what I wanted to show you is that a cool thing about spreadsheets is that you can have multiple sheets in one file, where in a CSV, you just have one spreadsheet per file. And so we can, if we look at the spreadsheet that I have here, we see that's the CSV. Let's look at the XLSX. So we look at the XLSX, we see that we have 2 spreadsheets, right? We have table 1, table 2. And so we have different information on each one of these sheets. So we can read in the different information by index. Remember we talked about indexing before, or by name. So if we put the second index, we'll see here that the information that we wrote in is for the second sheet, right? 5, 6, 7, 8 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4. And at the same time, we can also do that here, where we're just specifying instead of the index number, right? For the number of the sheet, we're just looking at the name of the sheet, and we do that by using the parentheses to be able to indicate that. So let's read back in the first sheet. So the information is changed. The last thing I want to show you is another argument, and that's the row in which we want to start reading the data in. And so for in this case, we're saying that we just want to start on the first row. But let's say that if we want to start on the second row, you see that we're only going to have 3 columns instead of 4. So it used the first data row as the header, and then we see here that we only have 3 rows. So if we put it back, we'll see what we originally had in the spreadsheet, which is 4 rows. So we have 4 rows, and then the first row is the header. All right, this is all I have for reading data into R. This is a very simple introduction. It can get a lot more complicated, but just to get you started, this is a really good starting point. And if you appreciated the video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.